Welcome to Bator International's Classic Online Motorcycle Sales. Today we're going to be working on Chapter 18, believe it or not, of the 1957 Harley Davidson XL Sportster. As you can see, we're coming along quite nicely. And as mentioned in our last chapter, we just got our chrome in. Da-da-da-da! It's going to be just like Christmas, unwrapping all these fine pieces. So we're going to see the bike start to wrap up here very soon. Again, I've been waiting for that stuff for some time now, but so we're going to go ahead and get the wheels laced, hang the exhaust on it, and all the rest of the good stuff. So stand by. We'll continue on with our quest. When I start these restorations and I send out the plating, I take pictures of everything that I send to him, and basically that way I can give him instructions on what needs to be done. I actually give him these photos, and this is what he gives me back. So again, I mark out everything that needs to be polished, all the stainless steel, and so on. And then once I get it back, I just pull everything out of the box, and then I go ahead and I make my check marks to make sure that I did receive everything that I sent him. So we'll go ahead and start unwrapping all these good things and see how nicely they turned out. Again, when I send them items such as especially like the front tin, they're never perfect, so they have to do the actual body work to bring it back to life. The same as the rear sections of the stainless steel backing plates for these here. Also the chrome bells for the shock absorbers. I send them out with dents and everything, and he gets all that fixed up and taken care of. So anyhow, again, very excited. I'm going to start pulling this stuff down and seeing how everything turned out. Okay, look at all this fine stuff sitting here. Beautiful wheel, very nice header. By the way, this is an original header, not a repop. And all the little sparklies on the desk here. Did a very nice job. I checked everything off the lists. The only issues that I do have is all of the stainless steel brackets, these pieces right here. I asked them to polish only, and they went ahead and chromed them. So these are easy enough to get new. Probably this one here. Again, I'll have to use these three here. I'm thinking, or these four. But I'll have to get another set of clamps, stainless. And or if I could find the proper ones, then I'll just send all this stuff and have them strip them and then just polish them back. But anyhow, everything else turned out beautiful. This top dashboard here had a lot of dents and stuff, and they got all those out. And also the rear, this is all polished, looks very nice. All the chrome work looks great. So very happy with what I have here. So now let's go start hanging some of this stuff. The first item that I've installed on the motorcycle with regards to the new chrome are the rear fender struts. I'm just installing them very loosely because I'm going to go ahead and install the rear fender. Now the little foam that goes back in the front of the rear fender catch there has to be a yellow foam for 1957. And being that I'm into the Formula race cars and stuff like that, this is actually the foam that we put on the inside of our fuel cells, and it just happens to be yellow, and it is a really nice dense foam. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this with my electric knife, and I can probably get, I don't know, 6 or 8 pieces of foam out of this for this purpose. So if any of you guys out there need some of the proper type of foam, just let me know, and if I have any left, I'll be happy to sell it to you. Now the original width on the actual foam itself called out for a 1/2 inch, but being that the original foam was much denser than what I have here, I went ahead and cut these in approximately 1 inch lobes. So I've got usable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 usable pieces here, and then the actual height of them is 2 inches. So I think I've got 4 inches right here, so I'll just cut them right down the center, and we'll be able to get 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 pieces out of this. So let me go ahead and get this cut, and we'll see how she turns out. Well, I have my 10 pieces. I went ahead and cut these holes to the 3/4 inch diameter. They're not perfect. I don't have a good way of doing it. I tried burning them. They leave a little bit of a black or brown residue. And then this is was from a 3/4 inch copper pipe, and sharpened it up and pressed it through. But all in all, I mean, you're not going to see them. You just basically need to make sure that you have the bolts showing if they do look. And once you scrunch that thing up, those holes are not going to make a difference. So I think this is going to work just fine. So we'll go ahead and slip the fender on now and put this piece of foam where it belongs. So there you go. All right, we're going to go ahead and install our rear fender. I have the oval-headed screws, chrome. They're supposed to be chrome on the 57s. And also we have our little piece of yellow foam there, and you can see the holes are all scrunched up. So again, I'm not too concerned about the getting them absolutely perfect. So again, make sure your struts are loose so they'll spread. Get your screws ready, and then just go ahead and slide your fender in. Push your screws into place. It'll hold it, suspend it, and then double check, make sure your foam is in proper position. Then go ahead and throw your external tooth shake-proof washers and your CAD nuts on the back side of the fender, and then we'll go ahead and tighten things up. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to give this a try. I went ahead and set up the camera so you have somewhat of a view of the rear fender struts. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the rear fender and see if we can get her slid on. Okay, I've got install these loosely. Okay, basically all I have to do is just adjust the foam a little bit. As you can see here, you just want to see a little bit of that foam coming on each side. You can see that once I get everything adjusted in place, the holes will show through, so you can see the hardware there. And once I get this all adjusted, then we'll go ahead and tighten everything down, make sure everything is in alignment. And the One more piece of color hanging off the bike. Looking good. I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. I forgot that this bike actually has a rear fender rack, so we're going to go ahead and install this. So we're going to remove the taper-headed bolts, and we're going to go ahead and just go with a regular hex bolt on the outside of the actual rear rack and get that installed instead. So there you have it. One more cool thing on this bike. Okay, there you have it. We have one fully installed rear fender with rack, properly tightened with the yellow foam. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and clean up some of the inside of the rear fender where the painter had a little bit of too much polish. But again, I wanted to get it mounted first, and then I'll clean it all up. And then from there, we'll go ahead and install the rear taillight. And again, she's starting to look like a complete bike. I'm very happy. So onward and upward. Well, now that the fender is installed, I went ahead and mounted the rear taillight. As you can see, it turned out quite nicely. Has all the new rubbers throughout. The new, the plastic is the proper one. Although for the 1957, the little SAE, I don't know if you can see it here, SAE-ST, should not be on the lens, but these lenses are so difficult to find, the proper plastic ones, like this one here. This one does not have any of that little script out there. So anyhow, this is a proper guide, but to be politically correct, this little script should not be there. We're also, I'm doing a little bit of touch-up. We're going to lace the wheels probably tomorrow. But on this drum, as you can see, it has a beautiful, beautiful paint job. I gave this to my painter, Nick Mrzinski, to shoot it, and along with some of my other parts. But this front brake drum was just too shiny, so I'm going to sand it down, as you can see. I'm going to hit it with a muted black, or a semi-gloss black, and to make it proper. Again, if you go ahead and make it too shiny, not correct, not good. We went ahead and repainted the front brake drums, got rid of the shine on the one, and the other one was actually a little bit too dull, so I went ahead and had some of the catalyzed paint mixed up, and we went ahead and shot it, and this is actually a very, very perfect tone for this. It's supposed to look like the baked enamel, so I think we're on the money there. And also coming back here to the bike, I have the taillight bracket installed, and this is the correct type. As you can see, it is narrower here, and also the back piece, the back bracket is also narrower than the later style. So that's all correct. You have your round-headed Parkerized screws, and also the nuts and the washers on the back side. So it's looking pretty good. I also, in the wiring kits, they have like a little connector right here for the green wire, and I went ahead and changed out both wires for the taillight loom, made them a little bit longer, and this green one I have ran all the way up here, so I'm going to go ahead and put a solder there and then shrink tube it, and then I'll slide it back down into this jacket where you can't see it. So that is a little bit nicer, and but if I ever do want to take the rear fender off, I'll have to cut that wire. So there we go. Just waiting for the soldering iron to heat up. And then we're going to go ahead and start building out our shocks. Since I have all the fancy pieces there, I got the shock tool here so we can compress them and install those, and hopefully we'll get them on the bike this afternoon. Now here comes the fun part. We get to assemble the rear shock absorbers. We have all the parts CAD plated, chromed, painted, and ready to go. So basically, if you take a look at the parts book, it'll show that you have this little dust washer and along with the spacer, and it shows it above the actual rubber grommet here. Now this is actually incorrect position. These should be right above the what I'll call this little derby, or this or the cylinder that slides over. So you get all of your lower mechanism, you slide that in, and then you get your dust spacer, your washer, and then the spring sits on top of that washer. So we're going to go ahead and assemble it in that way, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. On the 57s, this little R should be on the lower portion of the assembly. And if you have them, great. Actually, that shows that it's a correct rear shock. So what you do is you go ahead and you set this onto that one, and then you go ahead and install the next one. Whoops. Like so. Install your sleeve. That keeps everything together. And then you get your leather dust shield, and then the spacer. And then that mechanism gets slid on to the bottom of the shock absorber, and then the spring goes on there. So again, if you take a look at the parts manual, these two items should be right there. The first thing that I did was I actually installed these rubber grommets below the actual head of the shock absorber, and then this unit gets slid down into the chrome bell. You can use a little bit of, well, I use simple green. I just spray it on here and then drop it down in there, and it actually acts like a cork or a plug, and then that'll actually hold that in place. And then you go ahead and drop your springs in along with the bottom items as we mentioned there. And then I take the whole unit, set the shock upside down in here with all of this item mounted there, and then we go ahead and crank down on our two nuts, compresses the spring, and then we turn the end to the 90 degree, and that locks everything in place. So I'll go ahead and get that done now. Okay, just to show you how we do it, the shock absorber is actually sitting upside down in my press. I have this hole here with the top eyelet down underneath, as you can see, protected by this rag. And then all the components I have here, the washer, that dust washer, the what I'll call the derby, and then the rest of the components. Okay, now if you take a look at the lower eyelet, it's sitting parallel to the actual slot itself. So when I go to take my top piece and compress all the nuts, the actual eyelet will come through the this lower bracket, and then once it's exposed, you turn it 90 degrees, and that locks it into place. So let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, there we have it. Two assembled shock absorbers. All I need to do now is throw the rubber grommets on, the proper hardware, washers, and we'll have those installed here in just a few. Well, I think that's going to wrap this chapter up. As you can see, we got quite a bit done. I went ahead and installed the rear shock absorbers loosely. I have to parkerize out the washers, install the proper nuts, and put the bells on the top. Rear fender's all done. I'm going to go ahead and change out these chrome bolts. I found out that I have to go 1038 CP CAD, so I'm going to go ahead and change those out. We were going to go ahead and lace up the wheels tomorrow, Monday. Today's Sunday the 5th, so we're getting very close on time, but we're getting it done. I want these front hubs to dry out a little bit before we start to lace them up. So again, if you like what we're doing, please hit the thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Also subscribe, and also check out our website, batorinternational.com, B-A-T-O-R international.com. You can also subscribe to our website as well. So next chapter, we're going to be installing wheels and all the rest of the sundries, working on the handlebars, and trying to get the girl all done. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you're enjoying what we're doing here.